The relation of man to God. I want to talk more of the relation of man to God. I will open your eyes in relation to the dead. All things whatsoever God in his infinite wisdom has seen fit and proper to reveal to us while we are dwelling in mortality, in regard to our mortal bodies, are revealed to us in the abstract and independent of the affinity of this mortal tabernacle, but are revealed to our spirits precisely as though we had no bodies at all. And those revelations which will save our spirits will save our bodies. God reveals them to us in view of no eternal dissolution of the body or tabernacle. Hence the responsibility, the awful responsibility, that rests upon us in relation to our dead. For all the spirits who have not obeyed the gospel in the flesh must either obey in the spirit or be damned. Okay, if the body can have a beginning but not have an end, then the spirit, which doesn't have an end either, can have a beginning, contrary to what Smith thinks. Hence the responsibility, the awful responsibility that rests upon us in relation to our dead. For all the spirits who have not obeyed the gospel in the flesh must either obey it in the spirit or be damned. Solemn thought, dreadful thought. What is a solemn and dreadful thought, I would say, is the possibility that Joseph Smith was fraudulent, not a true prophet of God, and you, if you happen to be a Mormon, are believing what he's saying to your spiritual detriment. No preparation, no salvation for our fathers and friends who have died without having had the opportunity to obey the decrees of the Son of Man? Question mark. Would to God that I had 40 days and nights in which to tell you all. I would let you know I am not a, quote, fallen prophet, unquote. Okay, so he's saying you have to, let's see, that you have to, if you don't obey the gospel in the flesh or in the spirit, you will be damned and you won't have any salvation. But he does allow post-death that you could obey in the spirit and live. Have eternal life. Our greatest responsibility. What promises are made in relation to the subject of the salvation of the dead? And what kind of characters are those who can be saved, although their bodies are moldering and decaying in the grave? When his commandments teach us, it is in view of eternity, for we are looked upon by God as though we were in eternity. God dwells in eternity and does not view things as we do. Okay, if God is an exalted man, it's difficult to see how he could be in eternity, because God, on the traditional Christian view, in contrast to the Mormon view, is in eternity. But he's in eternity because he transcends time, because he's God. But on the Mormon view, God was once just a man like us and became a better and better man. So does there come a point when he progresses far enough that he suddenly jumps outside of time to become eternal? That is a question that I have. Continuing with Smith's words. The greatest responsibility in this world that God has laid upon us is to seek after our dead. The apostle says, "They without us cannot be made perfect." For it is necessary that the sealing power should be in our hands to seal our children and our dead for the fullness of the dispensation of times. a dispensation to meet the promises made by Jesus Christ before the foundation of the world, for the salvation of man. Now I will speak of them. I will meet Paul halfway. I say to you, Paul, you cannot be perfect without us. It is necessary that those who are going before and those who come after us should have salvation in common with us, and thus hath God made it obligatory upon man. Hence God said, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. He shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. And then from there he goes on and he talks about the unpardonable sin, his interpretation of what that means, that phrase, the unpardonable sin, and talks about that. But we'll skip over that for our purposes here. And then he concludes the sermon. So I think that last part about sealing people, what was it now? In view of eternity, sealing people, children, etc., fullness of dispensation of times. I think that was alluding to the proxy baptism. The Mormons will, if you're not a Mormon, you may not be aware that they will go into the temple and they will be baptized for somebody that has died, and that is why they are interested in genealogical research as well, to get a list of people that have died that they can then go and get baptized for, because there is this idea of salvation through baptism, and that's available even if you died without having been baptized. Somebody else can do it for you. Alright, so that wraps up the sermon itself, and I do have a few concluding remarks. The point of the sermon, at least the part that I read, seems to be that Smith is claiming that he has this special revelation from God of what God is like, and included in that idea is this idea of eternal progression and deification. We can become, I can become a god, you can become a god, and so on. But then he goes on and says that this is something that is also taught in the Bible, and we looked at that as we went through the sermon. So the significance of this series of videos is to use the King Follett Discourse to look at some of the central teachings of Mormonism, and have to do one more video here. I just got a few last comments to make, and that will conclude the entire video series on the King Follett Discourse. Thank you.